zoom in here a little bit so that I can see Raleigh and Columbus. Here we're looking at this triangle, so I've got this triangle that looks like this. And they tell me this side right here is 305. They tell me this side right here is 440. And that this side right here is A. So Vince, which side is my hypotenuse? My 305, my 440, or my A? Hypotenuse is the longest side. It's across from your right angle. What do you think, Passion? It's 440, right? So when I set this up, 440 has to be my C. When I do A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So it's got to be at the end. So it's going to be A squared plus 305 squared, or you can do the opposite order for that, it doesn't matter, is going to equal 440 squared. So, you're going to definitely need your calculator on this, unless you're a genius. So we're getting A squared plus 93,025 equals 440 squared, which is 193,600. I just squared 305. Okay, when I get to this point here, Passion, what do I need to do to try to solve for that A? Okay, so I'm going to subtract this 93025 from both sides. So I'm going to get A squared equals, so we get I got 100,575, and I square root to get rid of that square. What I just did there, well, you can just type it in. We're going to go 3 decimal places. Well, actually, what's the worksheet tell us to do? What's the worksheet say? 10. All right, 1 decimal place. Do 1 decimal place for me. So, we will get A equals 317.1 miles. So that would be number 1 for that. Think you guys remember doing Pythagorean Theorem? I think it was 7th or 8th grade. Just 440 squared. Okay, so I want you guys to work on the rest of these for me here. I'll be around to help if you're getting stuck on one of those. All right, so if I want to find the distance here between these 2 points, I'm looking for the length of this line. It is going to be difficult to do that just by counting or looking. If I have a straight line, though, that's up or down or left or right, I can just count those, right? If my line is a horizontal or vertical, I could just count that distance. But if it looks like this, I can't count it, right? Because it's slanted, it cuts across the lines. It's not going to be exact. So, our goal for these problems is going to be to turn these into triangles, okay? So if I turn this into a triangle, there's 2 ways that I could do it. I could draw a line down and then over to the right and make this a right triangle. You need it to be a right triangle. So you're only going up or down on the grid lines. You should not be cutting across grid lines. I could do it like this, or Julian's showing me his paper. His doesn't look like that. His looks like this. What I've drawn in red right here. Either one's perfectly fine. Right? Here's the cool thing about this. Now I have horizontal and vertical lines. I can count the side, length of the side, right? So if I use this red triangle here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The length of this side right here is 5. I can just count it because it's a horizontal line. And the length of this side is 1, 2, 3. And because I know those grid lines are perpendicular to each other, I have a right triangle here. So, the side that I want to find, I'm going to call it D for distance, but you can call it X, C, whatever you want to call it. That is my hypotenuse here. So, Julian, how would I set this up to find the length of D right there? Good. Very good. All right. So 3 squared plus 5 squared, that's 9 plus 25, which is going to give me 34, I think. And that will equal D squared. And then, Julian, what's the last thing I'm going to have to do? Square root it. And when you take the square root of 34, Julian, what do you get? Let's go 3 decimal places on this. Okay, 830. That first worksheet only asks you to do 1 decimal place. On stuff that I make, I usually do 3 decimal places, so let's go 3 decimals on these. If you have more, it's fine. Okay, questions? Alright, so let's just do a few more. Alright, find the length of line segment AB if A is at 3, -5, and B is at -1, -9. So I'm going to graph these points. That's what we need to do every time. 3, -5. That's A. I'm going to label it A. And then -1, -9 is right here. That's my B. And I'm looking for the length of that line segment. It's worded a little bit differently, but it's just asking me the same thing that that first problem was asking. It's asking for that distance between A and B. So, I'm going to make myself a triangle here by just drawing in a triangle. I did the triangle above the line. You could also do the triangle below the line. It's fine. It should work either way. So, Jada, what's the length of this vertical side over here? Is 4. What about the top side, Jada? Is also 4. So, if I'm wanting to find this length right here, I'm going to call it D. What would I do? How would I set up to solve for D? Very good. And 4 squared is 16. So 16 plus 16 gives you 32 equals D squared. And then, Jada, what's the last step? Square root. And tell me what we get whenever we square root 32. It would actually round to 6, 5, 7 there. Slight difference, but okay. Questions on number 2? All right, let's try this one. These are evil questions created by math teachers to make you have to do 3 questions at once. Because they're asking for the perimeter of a triangle, and it gives us the 3 points. What do we do to find the perimeter of a triangle? We got to find all 3 sides and add them together, right? So this is one problem, but you're going to have to find the distance 3 separate times. So I've got the point 2, 1 is right here. I've got negative 3, 5 here. And then I've got negative 3, negative 1 here. And let's label those. This is A, this is my B, this is my C. Now there is actually one of these sides that is easy to find. BC. So side BC. It is going to have a length of, what is it going to be, Julian? 6 there. So we can just count that side. All right, so that's one of these sides. So we have to do AB and AC separately, right? So when we look at AB, sometimes it's a little hard for students to wrap their mind around what it looks like with when you're looking at the triangle, because you want to use these sides of the triangle, but we've got to use horizontal lines, so it's going to be like this for AB. That's the right triangle that we're looking at for AB. Technically, you can draw it below, but if you draw it below, it runs into the triangle, so I would suggest drawing it above here. So the length of the top side, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this side right here is 4. So to find AB, I've got to do 4 squared plus 5 squared equals, actually I'm going to call that side right there. Call it, well, I'm going to call it just C squared. All right, so I've got 16 plus 25 is going to give me 41. And then I must square root both sides. So when I do that, what do I get for the square root of 41? 403. So the length of this side right here is 6.403. But we are not done, because we've got to find AC. So for AC, we're looking at the length of this side right here. I am going to draw this triangle below right here. Okay, so the length of this side here is 2. This bottom side is 5. And so, Caroline, how would I set this one up? Looking for AC here. So, okay, we've got a right triangle right here. This side right here is our C, right? That's our hypotenuse. So we would say 2 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. Okay? And then what do I do after I do that, Caroline? Okay, and what will we get whenever we do that? All right. And then what's my last step on that one? Square root. Good. And what do we get whenever we square root 29? What? Give me 3 decimal places on that one. 385. Okay. Now, these are not our answers here because they asked us for perimeter. What have we got to do to find perimeter? We've got to add them all together. So we're going to take these 3 numbers, the side 6, side 6.403, and 5.385. We're going to add those together. Did you add the 6 in, Julian? That sounds too low. That might be better, yeah. 17 point what? Did you forget the 6? The plain 6. 6 plus 6.403 plus 5.385. I'm getting 17.788, and I did trust your rounding on those two if you rounded. So if they didn't round these two correctly, there's a chance it might be wrong. But I'm getting 17.788. Okay. Questions? All right. Here's one that's in context. So on this map to the right, 1 unit equals 0.75 miles. So that means 1 point, like 1 block, equals 0.75 miles. We're supposed to find the distance a helicopter will have to fly to get from the intersection of Wolf Road and North Avenue to the intersection of Manheim Road and Schiller Avenue. So first we need to think about which points we're talking about. So if we're looking at intersection of Wolf Road and North Avenue, we've got Wolf is right here, North is right here, so we're talking about this point right here. And then we've got to get to the intersection of Manheim and Schiller. So Manheim and Schiller is up here. So we want to know, a helicopter, of course, does not have to follow the roads. So it can fly from point A to point B without having to follow the roads. So we want to know that distance right there. And we can make ourselves a right triangle here. We can count 1, 2, 3 on the bottom. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the side. Presley, how would we set that up to find the length of this side over here? Good. And then what would we do after that? Good. $45. Square root, yes. So square root 45. What do you get, Julian? Equals our C. Is it 7088? Oh, if it's 88, what should we round it to? 82, okay. So we're good. Okay, now this is not our answer. So each block here only represents 0.75 miles. It doesn't represent 1 mile exactly, because whenever you look at a map, it's always scaled, right? So they will tell you the map scale that this many, miles equals 1 inch on this map or whatever. So here, each block equals 0.75 miles. So how do I figure out how far this is in miles? I'm going to multiply it by 0.75. So I'll have 6.708 times 0.75 miles. Because what we're getting is our answer in blocks. We need to know how many miles that is. So if we take 6.708 and multiply it by 0.75, we are going to get 5.031 miles. So if you ever have a question that has a scale factor like that and it's not 1-to-1, if one block equaled 1 mile, it would be fine, but it did not in this case. So you want to make sure that you do that. All right, so that's the last one, isn't it? Yep. Your assignment is from Delta Math. And you know what? I need to check something about Delta Math. I don't know if I checked this. Oh, no. Oh, I might teach you something else. I think. I might teach you one more thing because I forgot to check and see if Delta Math. Let's see what it'll do. I got to check. You're going to have to do it. I just may have to teach you one more thing. Alright, so 5 squared, 25 plus 81 is going to give us 106. Alright. I didn't pay enough attention to this. So I've got to teach you how to do something. Alright, so some of these, like this particular example, it's going to ask you to draw in the triangle, so you're drawing your segments. You're going to put the length of leg 1, length of leg 2. I don't think it matters which one's leg 1 and leg 2. You're going to do Pythagorean Theorem. I'm getting square root of 106. The problem with Delta Math is it's not going to take a decimal answer. Okay? So, I'm going to have to, for this particular one, it will work for me just to type it in as square root of 106. And that is going to give me the answer there. The problem is that some of these are not going to let you do that. So let me look at this one really quickly. So if I do, like this one, I don't think it'll, let me see. Why is it not letting me? Oh, there we go. Okay. So length would be 2 and 2. Pythagorean Theorem. 2 squared plus 2 squared would equal c squared. So that's 8 equals c squared. Square root both sides. So if I type in, I'm pretty sure if I type in square root of 8, it's not going to work. But let's double check. All right, answer is not correct. This is why it's telling me my answer is not correct. So we did not do this, did we? Sometimes I teach this. I don't think I did with you guys. Square root of 8 is 4 times 2. The square root of 4 is 2. The 2 you can't take the square root of, you leave it underneath the square root. We didn't do that, did we? No, we did not. Okay. All right, here's what we're going to do for this then. We don't have to do this anymore, so here's what I'm going to have you guys do. Let's see if this works. Here's square root 8. Go. Alright, so there's a couple things that you can do. I bet it will also work. Where's my phone? It will probably also work if you photomath this, if you have photomath. So, let me see. I know you all have photomath. Mathway might. Let's see what Mathway does. Mathway, that way you don't have to get your own. Let's see if it works. I already know about Mathway. I'm not an idiot.
I know, but like, you didn't have the idea.
I already know about Mathway. It's not working today, though.
My computer's not working. It's being really bad.
Yeah, mine is
Square root of 8. I think it might be. I don't know if it's internet today. It seems like everybody's. Yeah, okay. So here's what you need to do. Since I'm not going to teach you how to do this, if you'll go to Mathway, if you, like when you get an answer, like square root of 106, like we just got, you're going to send it and tell it to simplify, not evaluate, but simplify. And it didn't do anything to it. It just said exact form square root of 106. That means you can type your answer in as square root of 106. But when I do that with square root of 8, square root of 8, it says exact form 2 square root of 2. So since we did not do simplifying radicals, but it's making you do that for Delta Math, just when you get your answer in a square root, unless it's perfect, like if you get square root of 25, which is 5, just type in 5, right? But if you get a decimal answer, then type it into Mathway and give that exact form, right? It might just be square root of the number, but it might not be. So if I go back to Delta Math and I type in instead, no, Delta Math is not working. There we go. If I type in 2 square root of 2 instead of square root of 8, it's going to tell me that I've got it right. So like if I do this next one real quick, I've got one of these sides is 2, the other one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I already did that earlier. So 2 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. That's going to be 29. So square root of 29 is my answer. If I go to Mathway, I type in square root of 29. Oh. So let's simplify. It just gives me square root of 29, right? It didn't change anything right there where it says exact form. So you would just type in your answer as square root. Oh, don't put it there. Right here, square root of 29. Does that make sense, what I want you guys to do there? Whenever I give you a quiz or test, I'm going to accept decimals. It's just Delta Math. I didn't realize whenever I was making this, it does not accept decimals, so you have to do it this way. Okay, so you got 6 problems. You got about 15 minutes to work on them right now, so go ahead and work on that for me. If you have questions, I'll be around to help.